So we start the first question, what new technologies could be the most impactful in Mauritius? So I think, Avinash, you could set the scene, then we take from the private sector.
So, thank you, Drishti. What new technologies could have the most impact in Mauritius? The answer is we don't know. And because we don't know, and we have to be honest about this, this is why at the level of government, we are working very hard to make sure that we have the appropriate structures for us to be able to know. I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago, the University of Mauritius organized a conference with Mauritians of the diaspora. So they told professors in every country in the world where you have Mauritians to come to Mauritius and to present what they have been working on. And those professors came, and we were amazed, because some of them were working on AI, some of them were working in genetics, some of them were working in various fields, which we didn't have a clue of. So what we did at the Ministry of Information Technology, Communication and Innovation, we said, it seems to be that artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, automation is going to be a big thing. So let's try to learn. So we contacted a company which organizes conferences about different themes, and we asked them, please come to Mauritius and organize a big conference for us, the World AI Show, where Sophia came. And the conference was very, very successful in the sense that at the end, we had a list of actionable items which we could readily implement. The very first item was to form, at the level of government, a group of people to work on a strategic plan, which we did over 2 months. Someone was mentioning that government is slow. Sometimes it can be very quick. So in 2 months at the Prime Minister's office, we worked extremely hard to come up with that strategy. And at the end of the strategy, at the end of this work, working on the strategy, it became clear to us that we needed to have a Mauritius Artificial Intelligence Council. So this is what we have been working on for the past few months now. And the council is a very pragmatic council, or the way it was conceptualized in the report was very pragmatic in the sense that it was clear to us that we, right now, with the kind of people that we have in Mauritius, we cannot aspire to create AI systems from scratch. Rather, we can take things that already exist, find a way to evaluate their impact or potential impact on the population, and for those solutions which look promising, find a way to implement them extremely quickly in Mauritius. And yesterday, the minister announced something. The AI Council is no more. Rather, it has been transformed now into the Mauritius Emerging Technologies Council. Because obviously, what we have realized is that after setting up the AI Council, we would have had to set up the VR Council, and then, it doesn't make sense. So we are doing an Emerging Technology Council. Now, what you're saying is that technology, whether it's an established technology or an emerging technology, I don't make a lot of difference between the two because I'm a computer scientist. AI, for instance, was created, was invented in the 60s. McCarthy, etc., etc. It's not because we have discovered something only 2 years ago that it means that it didn't exist. The thing is, for a country to work, we need to use the best tools. And our government, our private organizations are sophisticated enough now, first and foremost because you have sophisticated people in them, to be able to leverage on whatever exists. So I fully agree. It's not because we have to keep Mauritius running in case there's a second lockdown that it means that we have to adopt AI. We just have to adopt whatever is needed to make the country work. But we live in a context where, for instance, there's an IMF report which says that because of automation, there's a risk that by 2025, 1 person out of 2 becomes jobless. Now, from the point of view of government, we don't know if it's going to be true or not. but we need to be prepared. From the point of view of government, it's not possible to have a country where 1 person out of 2 is jobless. So what do? We need to be able to, first of all, understand the implications. And once we say to ourselves that this risk is real, find ways to upskill and reskill the existing workforce, train young people appropriately, not for doing emerging technologies for the sake of emerging technologies, but to be able to be productive in the new jobs that exist. The jobs of the future, and yesterday I was referring to 2 of them, software engineering, IT professionals. Those are things that are basic, and we could do much better than what we are doing now. Our software engineers, when they are trained at the University of Mauritius or any university, I'm one of the directors of the University of Technology, for instance, they are good, but maybe not as good as someone who is from an IIT in India or someone from MIT. This is something we can aspire to. Then, if those people have to use some kind of emerging technology to make something happen, then so be it. But the thing is, we need to cater for the fundamental level, which is build a nation of software engineers and build a nation of IT professionals, because this is where the jobs are. And if we do that, everything is going to be all right.
But Avinash, when you say this ratio 1 out of 2, 1 out of 5, I think that the risk is not for those new talents. It's for people like me, like old people, like engineers or technologists of our generation, because we are cut off from working with these emerging technologies. We implement them, we've been adopting them, but not really developing. So it's hard for our current ecosystem to really deep dive into AI, machine learning, coding. I feel this is quite rare in Mauritius. Do you somewhat agree with me?
No, the thing is, the basic assumption is that we are not more stupid nor more intelligent than anyone else in the world. When we are born in Mauritius, we have exactly the same aptitudes as anyone else. It is just a question of making sure that you are giving the proper knowledge for the jobs that exist today and which are going to exist in 5 years. Okay? For people already working, like old-timers like us, we will have to upskill and reskill ourselves. That's fine. This has always been the case. In this field of technology, every 2-3 years, we have to learn something new. And that's fine. We have a responsibility towards the new generation, not only for them, but also for the country. Because this is where the new jobs are, once again, and this is where, if you manage to create this critical mass of people who are knowledgeable about those things, you'll be able to build, once again, new services and new products for the African market, which is the market we should be conquering, you know?
Where does government sit in this?
So this is a very complex question, actually. But before I answer, I'll just briefly touch upon something that you have said. It makes sense for a country like Mauritius to build upon things that already exist. We are talking of the cloud infrastructure being provided by Google, Amazon, Microsoft, etc., but also, first and foremost, open source software. Open source software powers Android, powers MIT, powers whatever which is around us. And we should, as a sovereign country, build some kind of technological sovereignty on top of open source software, because we can't buy those things. It would be too costly for the country. Technological sovereignty is something we can aspire to using open source software. Now, to answer your question that you have just asked, maybe I should rephrase it differently. Machine learning and artificial intelligence is basically about building solutions that give you answers to difficult questions. For instance, you have a lot of data that you have collected. There's a machine which analyzes everything and tells you, yes, you can give a loan to that person. Or the car can turn to the right. Or the airplane can land now. The thing is, right now, there's a problem with machine learning. It is a black box. And this issue is called explanability. No one has a clue how a neural network, a very deep neural network works. And that's the whole point of using machine learning. Yesterday I alluded to something. When it is easy to analyze the data, you just do statistics. When the data is too big, then you go towards machine learning. No one has a clue how machine learning works internally. So there is a whole branch of research. You know, I don't have a PhD, but if one day I get into, you know, studying again, this is where I'm going to go towards to. Explanability. How do you make sure that whatever decision is taken by an AI can be explained properly to a human being? How can a banker, for instance, tell the person, you know, I'm not going to give you a loan, and I don't have a clue why. This is because the machine has said so. You need to have at least give a few, you know, pointers so that the person can apply again, or else there's a problem somewhere. So your question is extremely important, but it is so much complex that I have no clue. This is research, you know.
If I may.
Data. Start with something at least. Let's try to apply the agile methodology. Try something, not good, we add on or we correct. Maybe.
Yeah, I perfectly agree. Because the other day I was at Condos Hospital and I was speaking to a doctor who was treating my dad actually. And I was telling him, you know, I'm a senior advisor in government, we're working on e-health, etc., etc. We will build efficient systems for you. And he told me, you know, I need something simple. I need a laptop with up-to-date information on my patients. That's it. If we have this simple thing, and you know, you don't even have to build something new. It might be some Excel or whatever, but the information needs to be validated and verified, and you know, this can completely change everything. And if you make this information available through cloud solutions or whatever in various hospitals, then people can go anywhere. I perfectly agree that we need to start with things that will impact positively, very, very, very quickly on the lives of people. The second thing I did mention yesterday is the power of wearables, especially the fact that we have data packages extremely cheap now, thanks to the operators. The population is aging. It makes sense to give, and this is something that government can do, give to every senior citizen some kind of smart watch or whatever, which could be used to monitor the health of that patient, and in case something bad happens, notify the next of kin or even alert the medical services. This is something that is so easy to implement in a country like Mauritius, where everything concerning the infrastructure already exists. And from the point of view of government, I don't know if you know, but the budget for health is 17 billion rupees. So just saving 5% is phenomenal already, because this is taxpayers' money. And this is the kind of thing we should aspire to. Not adopting emerging technologies for the sake of adopting technologies, but building on things that we already have. We live in a country, and it requires foreigners to tell us this, which is extremely advanced, extremely good level of education compared to other countries, COVID-free. And why don't we, you know, start building interesting things, starting with the very basics that can make our lives better.
Excellent. Great. Nash?
We are talking of two different levels. The Digital Transformation Agency is for digital government. And we should also think about the digital society as a whole. And in my opinion, technology, emerging technologies are going to be extremely useful elements to solve problems that the digital society is facing, provided we have a grassroots innovation approach. One of the things, I'll take a small example. The Ministry of Technology has built 8 mobile apps for the population. None of them are being used. or only, sometimes. The reason is simply because we didn't ask the target audience, the end users, what real problems they were facing and what would have been useful to them. So we should find a way to go towards those people, trying to see whether they are actually working on solutions themselves, maybe not, give them the means to create the solutions themselves, and then those things will transform our society into a digital society. In parallel, of course, at the level of ministries, at the level of the private sector, because we are somewhat knowledgeable in the field, we can also develop a few solutions that we feel are going to have a meaningful impact on the lives of people. But we need to find a way to combine the two. So many things come from, the people themselves. And we need to give them the funding, the knowledge, the mentoring, the space to exist. They need to be able to come and talk to, let's say, the director of SIL. They need to be able to come to talk to Mauritius Telecom if they require some, technological tool or whatever. And this is the kind of thing we can work on. And which council are you referring to? Yes. This is what the Emerging Technology Council is going to do. But once again, emerging technology is nice. But at the very basic level, we're talking about technology, and technology always changes. So it should have been called the Technology Council, but it's not sexy enough, So just calling it the Emerging Technology Council for the sake of calling it something. But the Technology Council is the space where different kinds of people can meet and talk and exchange in order for Mauritius to become a digital society.
I don't know, a kind of liaison office or something that can bring up these people together, these persons together?
So, if your question is there a formal structure?
Which was thought of, even not implemented.
This actually happened when we worked on the AI strategy. The AI strategy was created by a bunch of people, informal group, but comprised of people who are very much experts in their various fields. I'm not going to give their names. It's in the report. You can actually read them. But the thing is, this is exactly the same kind of people, not necessarily the same ones, but the same kind of profile that you'll ultimately find in the Emerging Technology Council. And what is common among them is that they are not doing it for them. They are doing it because they like their country and they want the country to become a better country. Personally, I feel that Mauritius can be the best country in the world, more than the US. And this is what drives us, even though we work in government. And this is, you do.
So who wears a hat? Like who's the captain?
Who will be the boss?
Huh?
You'll just have to ask the minister afterwards when he comes.
Okay.
Actually, I think we have two more comments here on that one.
Yeah, I just want to say.
That's the whole point of having a digital transformation agency under the Prime Minister's office. And you will recall that Rama did mention something interesting when MNIS was being built. It was built outside the normal procurement system. This happens really in Mauritius because people don't trust government processes. We'll have to establish this level of trust, let technologists who already have solutions be in a position to contribute those solutions very, very effectively, in full transparency, obviously, because we are talking about public money. And this is the kind of things that we can aspire to at the level of the MDTA. The MDTA was announced in the budget speech only a few months ago. It hasn't materialized yet, but I'm hoping that it's going to come in existence very, very soon. And such things will happen then.
So there was a lot of stuff we've covered today, and that's because everyone's been contributing. So I don't know quite how to finish this any better than giving everyone here a round of applause, and looking forward to going forward. Thank you very much. I guess I declare the summit closed if my boss is gone. Thank you.